Sure, thank you, Bob, and I do want to thank the Center Chamber and the Field Democrat for putting on this forum tonight. My name is James Gallagher. I lived my entire life in the Yuba Center region. I was born and raised in East Nicholas, California, on a rice farm, and went to local schools. East Nicholas High School, state champions this last year in football, go Spartans. And after that, I had the opportunity to go on and get higher education at UC Berkeley and then to UC Davis for law school. Came back to this region because it was so much a part of every opportunity that I received was what I learned and the opportunities that I got just living in this region. And so came back, started a law practice, started a family. My wife Jana is here with us tonight. We have 3 children. And I had an opportunity to run for and get elected to the Sutter County Board of Supervisors, where I served for 6 years. And now I've served 2 years in the State Assembly. Been your representative down there. Very proud of the job that I've been able to accomplish. Down there we had 9 bills signed by the governor this year that I authored. One being a bill that's going to help expedite Sites Reservoir, 1.6 million acre-feet of water that can be brought on here in California. I'm very proud of how I fought for this region in the Assembly to make sure we have good jobs and a path out of poverty for people in our state. Thank you.
And Edward Ritchie.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for putting on the forum. Thank you for everyone who's in attendance tonight. It's nice to see so many people here participating in the process. My name is Edward Ritchie. I'm a Democrat running for Assembly. I'm a Yuba County resident, born in Sacramento, moved here in 2003. In 2006, I began working up here as a district representative for the operating engineers. I recently retired in May of this year, and April of this year. And my job primarily was as a representative for 7 Northern California counties, that very similar to the Assembly District. In my time as a representative for these 7 counties, I got to learn and bring people together, find solutions, and get that job done to bring benefits to the people that needed them. I gladly support Sites Reservoir, and I was lucky enough to serve as a vice president of the building trades, where I got to advocate also for Sites Reservoir. Glad to see that project getting moving. I currently am on the Yuba Southern Fair Board, the Three Rivers Levee Improvement Board, and I just recently retired from the Workforce Development Board here locally. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And the first question will be for Edward, and you have the first question.
In your opinion, what are the top 3 priorities for our area's Assembly member? What can you do realistically to help solve this problem?
Well, I would look at what are the 3 top priorities in our region as what's going to affect us over the next 2 years. Certainly, water is going to be a top issue in our Assembly District with Sigma and many other obligations that are going to follow along with the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. I believe that second would be our public safety, and third would of course be getting the funds that have been borrowed from the transportation paid back in the general fund. So infrastructure, water, and public safety.
Okay. James?
I'd say the top 3 priorities are water, jobs, and public safety. And as an assemblyman, I've been working hard on all 3. First, on the waterfront, I've been in front of the Water Commission consistently. The Water Commission is the state commission that will allocate the $2.7 billion for water storage projects. It was passed by the voters, Proposition 1. I've been in their face, talking about the importance of building these projects like Sites Reservoir and Temperance Flat down in Fresno. I also held 2 forums, one in Yuba City, one in Chico, where over 300 people showed up to advocate 2 water board commissioners. We also need projects off the ground. I've been working on that as well. And the public safety, we need to keep our community safe. We've been moving in the wrong direction. Talk more about that. Hopefully on a follow-up question.
And James, what about the recently passed agricultural labor overtime law? Explain what effects you think it will have, and why are you for or against it?
I was one of the leading voices, I think as many know, I was one of the leading voices against that bill, because I believe it was misguided. I think a lot of people, and the people that proposed that bill looked at it as well, we're just treating everybody the same. You know, everybody gets overtime after 8 hours in a day, 40 hours in a week. But what that is, it shows a misunderstanding of agriculture, because we work very long hours in agriculture during certain seasons, during planting and harvest time, where we have to work these long hours. And in fact, this is also the time when many of our farm workers, this is when they make some of their most money, because during the off parts of the year, during the wet parts of the year, they don't have as much work. So I oppose that measure because it's devastating both to farmers and farm workers. It's going to make it harder for us to get crops in and out, and it's going to make taking hours away from farm workers that they vitally need. That takes money out of their pocket and food off the table. We almost got there. I actually helped as a part of a coalition that almost stopped that twice on the assembly floor, but unfortunately it passed.
Edward?
Yeah, I do support the overtime for agricultural workers. Under the Fair Labor Standards Act, that was a 70-year-old rule that had others working to a different set of rules than the rest of us work. After 70 years, it was time to change that. And after 26 years of actually working out in construction, that's where I made a lot of my money, was working overtime. And I would hate to have seen those rules applied to the construction industry when we had imminent rainfall, like we may have tomorrow, and we got to push and get overtime done, very similar to agricultural work. So I think it was a good rule. I think that we'll get past the challenges, and we've made an improvement in the lives of farmers.
Okay, Steve?
Let's talk about Sites Reservoir. How does Sites Reservoir fit into the scheme of things? Is it a sound investment, cost effective? How does it benefit Northern California? And that goes to Ed first.
It's going to be measured by public benefit, where the funds will be directed between sites or temperance. And by far, Sites Reservoir has a lot more public benefit. One of them that was noted in a reconnaissance study by the Wilson administration was that it was the least amount of structure for the most amount of storage. At one time, there was a 3.1 billion acre foot Calusa reservoir that was proposed in that same area. It has great public benefit. It will provide needed resources for downstream fish and environmental concerns that always seem to come to the front. And it will have a lot of storage for us and tractors. So I certainly hope that project goes forward and will be a great public benefit to us in the North State.
James?
Absolutely, it will benefit us, and it will benefit the entire state. We saw in this drought that we are not as water reliant, as water stable as we need to be. The last time we made an investment in major water storage was Orville Dam. That was way too long ago. We've studied sites since President Dwight D. Eisenhower was president. It's about time to build this project. What it will do? Well, here's a big thing for us in Northern California. We always have a target on our back with our water rights. When things get scarce, the boats are elsewhere. The boats are in Southern California, the boats are in the Bay Area, and they could vote to take away our water rights. Sites Help is an insurance policy because we increase the amount of water that's available, and when we have tough droughts, we can get that water to all the different places that need it, including us in the north. There's farmers that went, this last drought, farmers on the west side went with 0 water allocation. We need this water in the north, we need it throughout the state, and it will help keep us more water reliant. That's why I work so hard to push this project forward and to make sure it happens.
James, what improvements should be made within the Medi-Cal program to provide choices for seniors and people with disabilities to receive services at home or at work?
Well, the biggest problem that you have with the Medi-Cal program right now, in my view, is that we need to increase reimbursement rates. We've added a lot of people to the rolls, and very similar to Obamacare, you can add a lot of people to insurance coverage, you can add a lot of people to coverage, but if they can't get care, because people won't see them, because doctors are not taking Medi-Cal patients right now, because the reimbursement rate is so low. It's very difficult to get care of people because of that fact. I've been an advocate for increasing the Medi-Cal reimbursement rate. It's something that the governor has basically refused to do. But I think that's something that we should be doing. And we can do more to help, get care to our seniors. We, have a colleague in the legislature, Cheryl Brown, who always talks about the senior tsunami that is upon us. We have an aging population that's going to have a lot of different needs, and if we spend the money now, it'll save us a whole lot more in the long run, in the costs that go up if you ignore that problem and wait till things get too serious.
Edward?
Well, I hope that through continued appropriations, after the budget has been settled, that there'll be some more work done on some of those, and they'll be addressed. Health and Human Services is one of the largest burdens that our counties bear, and I certainly hope that the state will come in to provide it. And I don't know how we would encourage more rural services. It is hard to find services up here in the rural counties. They're not completely absent, and most people do have access to them, but the biggest problem has been with the Affordable Care Act and people not accepting those types of insurance also up there.
There's at least a general perception that crime is getting worse lately. While long-term crime statistics might be coming down, in Yuba Sutter there seems to have been a rash of violent crimes as well as property crimes, including thefts and burglaries. Has crime been affected by realignment or other state policy shifts? And what could be done to make our communities more safe and secure, starting with Edward?
The first thing we ought to do is make sure we don't vote yes on Prop 57. So we've had a lot of alignment in the recent years, and I would like to see the state provide the funding prior to some of the statutes that change in AB 109. I don't know how to address it to make us safer. A lot of our funding for police are being answered in ways that local jurisdictions are putting tax measures on the ballot so that they can hire more police in their local jurisdictions. I think that's mostly how it's being addressed in this district right now. And Oroville has one on the ballot, Marysville recently had one on the ballot to address that problem.
James?
Yeah, I don't think it's a general perception anymore. There's a study I believe that just came out from National Crime Statistics, the FBI, that showed that violent crimes are up, and they're up in California. And we know, we've seen it. In the last few weeks, we've seen shootings here in Yuba City. We saw a man just gunned down who was on a motorcycle. Just a couple weeks ago, we saw 2 Palm Springs police officers gunned down and killed for answering a domestic disturbance call. One of those, a young woman who just returned from maternity leave. It is not acceptable that we continue these policies, and there's a direct correlation to realignment and the governor's policies and the majority party's policies of continuing to allow people out of jail, felons out of jail, move them down to the county system. There's no consequences now because of Prop 47. Many things have been made misdemeanors. People aren't spending. They know that if they commit a crime, they're not going to serve time. And these are all direct policies of the Democratic majority in California that needs to stop. We need to turn this around and say it's no longer acceptable. And I for one, am going to continue to fight to turn that tide back where we put criminals back in prison so that they're not out victimizing our folks here in our communities.
say 4 words: twin tunnels, high-speed rail. What are your stances on those two topics, and do you think that both of them should go forth, be stopped? What?
I would say no to both of them. I was going to say no, and you know what, no. I don't want to be too crude here tonight, but the bottom line is both of these are misplaced projects. We're spending, now they're talking about $68 billion for high-speed rail. Real estimates is probably going to be over $100 billion of money that we can spend on that. And in the meantime, we're designating dollars that we have at the state for high-speed rail, and we can't designate any of those dollars for our roads that we're all driving, our highways that are deteriorating. We got $2 billion in a cap and trade fund that the governor and the majority party, again, refuse to spend on roads. Instead, they say, no, we want to tax you. We want you to pay more for gas, more for diesel, more for your vehicle license fees. That's how we're going to fix our roads. It's the wrong approach. The twin tunnels, no thank you. We're not going to have a double-barrel shotgun pointed at our water rights in Northern California. The problem is not the tunnels, it's radical environmentalists who think that the smelt is more important than the needs of the people of the state.
Edward?
I like the double barrel shotgun. That was pretty good. I do not support the twin tunnels. And I support the high-speed rail that we voted for. It's a $10 billion project, and it's certainly changed since we all voted on it. The question was recently asked of me when I went to an editorial board at Chico, whether I would support a referendum if people put it back on the ballot. If it's the people's will to put the high-speed rail back on the ballot, then I would support that. Today it's a project that we voted for, and it needs some cost correction. It needs some administrative review to find out why it's over $10 billion. That's what we voted on. But I unequivocally do not support the twin tunnels. But as we voted on that bond issue for the high-speed rail, yes, I do support that. I think it's a very innovative approach to California transportation.
Steve?
Just as a quick aside on that, I had actually a bill on that exact issue this year, asking the voters whether they wanted to keep with high-speed rail or put that money into roads. I think it's a good idea.
Okay, did you want another comment, or is that okay? Okay, great. Steve?
Speaking of it, environmental concerns are sometimes interpreted as anti-business and anti-free market. How do you balance legitimate concerns for the environment and a legitimate concern for a free market system, including the agricultural businesses? That starts with Edward.
Okay, good question. Well, I think that everything needs balance in life, right? So I think when you approach any issue, you need to have priorities, and your first priority should be people. Our second priority should be what keeps our economy moving, and that's business. And third priority should be our environment. How do we balance these? It's a difficult question. But I can tell you that if I'm in Sacramento, lucky enough to get your vote, that the decisions that I will make will be based on those three priorities, and in that order: people, business, and environment.
Can you repeat that question, Steve?
You bet. Environmental concerns are sometimes interpreted as anti-business and anti-free market. How do you balance the legitimate concerns for the environment and a legitimate concern for a free market system, including our agricultural businesses?
Right, I think that's a good question, and probably the best example of how we've done it the wrong way here in California is with our climate change policies, with our greenhouse gas emissions policies. The way that the governor and the Democratic majority have done it has meant that truckers have had to give up their trucks, their livelihood in this state, and been out of work. Because they've said, no, anything older than 2007 has to be taken off the market completely and sold. The way that they have done this has meant that manufacturing jobs are last place, California's last place in manufacturing jobs created, because it's too hard to open up a new manufacturing plant, because you have to pay millions of dollars in credits in order to do so. You know, one of the best ways we can reduce greenhouse gas emissions and the most cost-effective way? Cleaning out our forests. If we clean out our forests and got the timber and the undergrowth out of there, we would reduce carbon emissions. And oh, by the way, all these forest fires that happen to torch up the whole mountainside and leave a moonscape behind, how many carbon emissions are created by that? And there's been a study showing that the most cost-effective way to do it is to do that. It would also create jobs. That's the best way to go about curbing our greenhouse gas emissions in the state.
Okay, I think I can count this time. One word, marijuana. What's going to happen in the elections? How might the laws change for medical and for recreational use? And how does it filter down to local communities? What should you, the setter, be prepared for? James?
Are you asking me to predict what's going to happen, or?
If you'd like.
Well, as you know, there is an initiative on the ballot that would completely legalize recreational marijuana. I think that's a wrong approach. You know, there is polling showing that it's ahead, but I really believe that that would be the wrong approach for us. One thing about that is that the legislation that passed in this term while I've been there protects the right of locals in their land use decisions as how and where and when marijuana should be cultivated. So that is an important local control that my understanding is would be kept if the initiative passes in November. So that's important to me, that locals would still have the ability and the authority to determine how, you know, marijuana is grown and to address legitimate public safety concerns that we've seen. Some of these shootings that we've seen here in the local area were a direct result of marijuana sales that were going on there and illegal marijuana grows. And more later.
Edward?
They've asked us this question every time, Elijah. So when you, as a Union County resident, how many times have we voted no? So I'm pretty sure I could predict how the vote will go in Yuba County. It will probably be no. Statewide, I don't know how that vote's going to go. I do not support Prop 64. And I do not promote or use marijuana as a recreational drug, and I don't think that is something that's going to do a lot of good for our kids. I worry about some of the loopholes, just like the original legislation in the Compassionate Use Act. What are going to be some of the downsides to this when it passes? Are we going to be seeing marijuana products that look like candy on television commercials? I've heard that might be coming our way also. So I do not support Prop 64. Thank you.
Water in two parts. First, what's your assessment of how safe Yuba Sutter is these days from the major flooding that has at times in the past devastated the area? And two, how secure are our water supplies, both for irrigation and human consumption? Edward?
We're lucky that we live on very good aquifer here in Yuba County. It's not listed as a stressed aquifer. How safe are we from flooding? I'm on the Three Rivers Levee Improvement Board and followed very closely the Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency and the work that they did. And I think that we're safer now than we have been in many, many years for flooding. And I have to applaud the agency and the hard work they did to get that done. I believe we're in good shape with water, as long as those people that are making the decisions protect our senior water rights up here in Northern California, so that all our water is in good shape south. James?
I would say we are much safer in this region because of the efforts that have been done to improve our flood control and flood safety. A lot of people in this room that I've seen and people throughout this region who came together and decided we need to make the investment and take advantage of the Prop 1E bond funds to help us improve our levees. And now on both sides of the river, we've seen these projects come to fruition. One of my proudest accomplishments as a supervisor is the work that I did on Sutter Butte's Flood Control Agency. Being chairman of that agency when we broke ground on the Sutter County side. That was a great accomplishment. I always say, hey, we got that one done on budget, on time. My next project right? So, very large public works projects, but coming together, we can get them done. As far as water reliability, we have very strong water rights, and that is really our best protection. We have many of us in Northern California, we have senior water rights protections. We need to continue to make sure those are protected for the future, and we need to build new water storage.
James, let's talk about roads, local roads, state roads. We seem to be getting farther and farther behind. What's going on?
Well, I was talking about that a little bit earlier tonight, and we need to invest in our road infrastructure, bottom line, and I believe the state needs to invest in our road infrastructure. Traditionally, we've paid for that, not out of our budget, but by the gas tax, and by also some other complicated formulas that they call the triple flip. This is, there's a lot of bringing and putting money here and there, and also the legislature, in the last 20 years has robbed that fund, and those are funds that should be staying in there. What's the solution going forward? The Democrats and the governor will tell you, well, you should just tax yourselves. Why won't the Republicans vote for a tax increase on all of you so that you can have better roads? Well, that's a lie, and it's a false choice. Because we have billions of dollars. In fact, last budget cycle, $8 billion more dollars in our state budget coffers. Not a dime of it in our budget went towards roads. We have the cap and trade fund, $2 billion. They've earmarked 25% of it for high-speed rail, but not for your roads. These are false choices, and we need to make sure that the investment in the budget is made, not just tax people more. Believe me, people in California are taxed enough.
Well, the tax has been going down because of that triple swap. And it was a very complicated thing they did in 2010. Your gas tax is now calculated as a percentage of the price per gallon. It's been dropping, and that's why when the SIP came out recently, they announced all the cuts that would be our state transportation infrastructure. And it's a 5-year program that they, or plan that they put forward. We were talking about $450 million in cuts to the SIP. I'd like to see, right now today, it would be nice to have local control on our taxes. Today we can vote on school bonds with a simple majority. But to get a bond passed on a local level so that we can get matching funds, we have to have a 2/3 majority. Maybe we should be working on something where we can pass as a local, if we approve of it, at a simple majority to do infrastructure bonds locally and get matching funds from the state.
So stick with me on this one. I like this question. Does the California legislature sometimes just get really silly and a bit too grandmotherly? For instance, the law that required people to wear gloves for any and all food service work, from serving a bagel to preparing a cocktail. One cafe owner estimated 50,000 gloves per year just for bagels. How do you deal with other legislators who feel that any tiny problem in the universe deserves to have a bill written to deal with it?
I wish I had that answer. I would say that me being down there as a Democrat, talking to other Democrats, I think that you guys are getting to know me as a Democrat that represents a lot of the same core values that you do as Republicans. And I knew that I had an uphill challenge when I got into this race. But I can go and move in those inner circles as a Democrat and tell them, you're being a little silly here. So that's my answer.
James?
Well, in the time that I've been in the legislature, I have worked with moderate Democrats. I've found consensus and we've worked on things, including my water storage bill, for example, had a really solid Democrat out of Bakersfield who was a co-author of that bill. I found a lot of common ground with, say, Jim Cooper, Democrat from Elk Grove, who's a retired deputy sheriff on public safety issues and keeping our community safe. So I found that common ground. The problem is, and I have a lot of Democrats who support me. I'm a Republican, but I have a lot of Democrats who supported me and helped elect me to especially ammunition, that make you can't buy that ammo anymore to go hunting because that's somehow really terrible. I mean, all this stuff, it is silly. And the problem is these people are way out of touch. They're way out of touch to the left. They're socialist, if you really want to know the truth. And, you know, those are people that we need to work together to get out of office and get people, common sense people into the assembly so that we can get these things done. Thank you.
James, are there still some options on the table to possibly limit the new minimum wage law and the phase-in of it? And are you for and against it? And how's it working in places like Seattle?
Well, I think you know the answer to the last one. It's not working very well at all. We've seen some of the impacts there that going from 10 to 15 is a dramatic. We've seen it not work very well in San Francisco, by the way. You know, a very well-known bookstore closed its shop and moved out of the city as a result of it. I was against it for a lot of reasons, but mostly because it does not help rural California whatsoever. To apply a minimum wage to everybody throughout the state when our cost of living is different, when it's much harder for us in Northern California to pay those kind of wages, what it ends up doing is it ends up. I talked to a small business owner here years ago. He said that has the effect of doubling my rent, is what it does. So now I have to figure out what am I going to do. I want to try and keep my full-time employees that are part of my business, but those part-time employees who might be going to Eagle College to try and get an education and do better, I can't hold those positions anymore. I can't do the high school kid who's trying to move up. So it has a devastating impact on our local economy. I would argue we should have a regional minimum wage that's different in different parts of the state to address the different costs of living and ability to pay wages.
Edward?
Well, we can all get the facts we want, depending on which author we read. So I know that the Federal Reserve did a study in the 90s when the federal minimum wage went up 25%. And their findings were that on a $30 meal, it raised the price of that meal 0.2%. So I think it's more the ancillary things that have been going on in the legislature with the time off and other things are making much greater impact than minimum wage. For many years, employers have been misclassifying management people to avoid payment of overtime. I'm proud to support the minimum wage increase, and I'm glad that the legislature had the foresight, because it was going to pass on the ballot, then they passed it at the legislature instead, so that they can come back and make adjustments that may be needed. But after 30 years of stagnant wages, it's time to increase the minimum wage.
Enterprise Rancheria Casino, what's the reason other than increased competition for existing casinos for continued opposition?
To me. I don't know any other reason besides that. I agree with the statement, and I will tell you that I fully support that casino. I hope it gets built. I think that it is one way that we support jobs in our area, and it will be a great benefit to Yuba County to get the Enterprise Rancheria built. I believe in working with both sides. That's why I went and lobbied on legislative days with the chamber, as well as going lobbying for labor groups. And I think that that is a project that will benefit Yuba County, and I can't wait to see it break ground.
So I think maybe that question was directed towards me because I have been opposed to the Enterprise Rancheria project, and it is quite simply that all the rules, the same rules should apply to everybody. And when we passed Proposition 1A in California and allowed for gaming on Indian lands, it was meant to be on reservation lands. It was meant to be on rancheria lands. And what was not supposed to happen was people buying properties in ideal locations, putting that land into trust, and sort of, and basically reservation shopping. And that's one jobs in this region. I'm fully in support of that. That's why I'm trying to cut through all the regulations and the things like minimum wage increases that actually lead to less jobs in this state. And you know, greenhouse gas restrictions that take truckers out of their trucks, that put blue-collar jobs out of, you know, people talk about minimum wage. We need more than just minimum wage. We need the 15, we need the 20, we need the 30, we need the $50 an hour. We're missing all those jobs because of the crazy regulations that we passed in this state.
Can I say one thing about Rancheria Enterprise real quick? Since Jim went over, I should get just a couple seconds. The Enterprise land for that tribe is underwater in Lake Oroville. They certainly couldn't build there. So, I mean, that's one of the most stunning facts about the Enterprise Rancheria is that they can't build on it, and they never gave up their rights as an Indian tribe.
Just really quick on that, they retain land in Oroville, outside of Oroville right now, that they could build a casino on. They refuse to do that. Why? Because they'd be competing with the other two Oroville casinos in Oroville. So they do have land right now that they can build a casino on. Instead, what they're trying to do is locate some land right off 65 in Yuba County and put it into trust. To me, that's a violation of the rules, and you know, everybody's got to play by the same rules. We can't apply some rules to some people and not the same to others.
Since I wasn't quite as quick as it should have been, do you have anything further to say? Just 10 seconds?
I'm sorry, I was.
Do you have maybe another 10 seconds you want to say anything about on that? Doesn't sound like it.
Look, I can tell you this much. I did not take any money from Enterprise Rancheria.
Okay.
I didn't either.
All right.
Pollution laws. I presume that California has the strictest pollution laws in the world. Should California put tariffs on the world's biggest polluting countries for their products coming into our state, such as India and China?
Well, no, I don't think that we should be putting tariffs on products, although I do think we should be removing tariff barriers to foreign countries that we export into. For example, in the rice industry, for example, we deal with a lot of foreign tariffs and barriers to us being able to trade freely, and that hurts our industries locally. In agriculture, we deal with this a lot. We deal with foreign governments that should be trading with us, that should be buying our products, and provide those barriers that make it harder for us to do so. What we should be doing is not doubling down on our greenhouse gas policies, because, oh, by the way, who else, we say we're being the leader in the world, who else has followed us? No other state has done what we've done, and none of their economies have had to go through what we've had to go through, and their workers have to go through what we've had to go through. And what's China and India doing? Oh, they agreed, guys, in Paris, that they're going to peak their emissions. They're going to peak them. Oh, okay, well, that really helps, you know. And so meanwhile, we're doubling down in California. Our workers bear the brunt. Our economy bears the brunt, and nobody else is doing this. Let's make them do it first before we do anything more in California and hurt jobs here at home.
Well, if I was shaping a trade policy, it would be very simple. Sometimes things get too complicated in our world, and they make it completely impossible to enforce. Mine would be reciprocal. Mine would match yours. If I wanted to ship something to you and you tariff me, you would get the same. It's the same greeting here when you brought something to our shore. It would be very easy to have a trade policy if I wasn't setting it, because it would be reciprocal. So that's an easy one. Was there anything else to the question? I didn't hear the last one.
No, basically, should we put tariffs? That was the question. We have time for one more question. Make it a good one.
Oh, man.
Still lots to choose from.
Yeah, how about this one? What's your take on the state of Jefferson movement? We're not just interested in whether you think it's viable or not. We're more interested in your perspective on why it recently became a movement in the first place.
To me, I think that it became a movement because obviously people feel like their voices aren't being heard in Sacramento. I think the challenges that we face in the North State are simply logistic. I think that I've learned and practiced that in representing 7 counties as I did, and I think I could overcome that barrier. And as a matter of fact, I think I would probably take $176 a day stipend and use that towards another staff member so I could put somebody out there to let people know that their voice is heard in Sacramento. And again, I think that my experiences in the last 10 years representing 7 counties up here would bode me very well in being able to address some of the issues that sparked the Jefferson movement.
I think that people are understandably frustrated with what the Democratic majority has done in California over the past 40 years. They've been in power, and they've created all kinds of programs. They've spent money unwisely, and we have huge liabilities and debts. And probably the biggest thing that really makes people upset is that it is policy established by San Francisco and LA, and one size fits all for everybody in the state. And that's very frustrating when you're a rural person and you feel that people aren't passing laws that take into account our agriculture industry, our timber industry, and the hard-working people that are in those industries. That's very frustrating. So I think that's where this has come from. I'm supportive of that. I was on the Board of Supervisors in Sutter County, and I helped pass the Jefferson Declaration in Sutter County. And it's a statement to the state that we want to be heard, and that you need to address the issues of rural California, not just the issues of the coast. Now, while I've been in the Assembly, that's exactly what I've been doing, is being a strong representative for rural Northern California and for our issues and our industries.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you very much for a most enlightening 45 minutes. And we'd like to now hear closing statements from each one of you. We'll start with Edward Ritchie. 90 seconds.
Thank you guys for being here, and thanks for inviting me and James tonight to present ourselves. And I hope tonight, the goal of this for me was to get you to know me better. I hope that you got to know me a little bit better through the night and know that I am a Democrat running for state assembly. And the reason I am running is because I think I can get more done in Sacramento. For 40 years, we have elected Republicans to this district, and we have sent them down to the legislature in opposition to the majority party. I don't propose to agree with what the majority party is doing down there. I propose to go down there and work internally to tell them what they're doing wrong, to correct some of the reasons that sparked the Jefferson movement, and to work from the inside and bring those benefits back to Northern California, because I will be there in their caucus meetings. I won't be shunned because I'm not in the majority. I hope that doesn't happen. I've never been in the Assembly like James has. But I can only imagine all the rhetoric I hear about partisanship in Sacramento, that sending a Democrat, a moderate, fiscally responsible Democrat, to the Assembly District 3 and doing something different that we've done for the last 40 years would benefit this district. I thank you tonight for your time.
Thank you. James?
Well, thank you for putting on this forum tonight, and thank you to everyone who came out and who have been listening. It's been my complete honor and pleasure to serve as your assemblyman these last 2 years. And I think we've been very effective. Together, working together, I made sure that my staff was very responsive to constituent needs. We even opened up a new office in Yuba City, because previously there was only one district office in Chico. We moved to a district office here in Yuba City as well, so we can serve both the north and south parts of the district. I have an amazing staff of people who are out there, and we make it a priority that we respond to emails, we get back to people, we get on issues when they're brought to us. I had a labor contractor who came to me with an issue being fined upwards of $16,000. We went and advocated for him with Cal OSHA and got his fine to zero. Because what was done, he didn't write on the check Inc. for the business he was working for, INC, and he got fined this state who are being overlooked. And look at my record, 9 bills passed and signed by the governor in my 2 years that I've been there. One of them that will expedite water storage. One of them that will expand career tech education in our high schools. Another one that establishes the infrastructure, see something, say something, in California to combat terrorism, because we know that's a real issue. We need to talk about that much tonight. I'm proud of my record. I think I've been effective, and I want to continue to fight for you and get things done for the North State. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you very much, and please let's give a round of applause.